I'm kind of hoping today is actually going to be the day that I get to work on JCB. At least that's what I'm planning on doing. If anybody's noticed, I haven't actually been posting much in a while. That's mainly because I haven't been here. Uh, it's been about 2, 3 months now of just in and out, in and out, in and out, traveling a lot for work and personal reasons. So I haven't had time to work on that. I've been getting a few things done in the shop here. One of them being we've got this ATV back and it's running again. I had to break the lawnmower out and start mowing. Got the loft all filled up with stuff. Finally got the snow machines up there, the snow blower. I don't know if you can see them, but all the way in the back are a couple of doors for my truck. You got a skidoo ride behind trailer and a aeration system. Lots of fun things going on. We brought some bikes up from down south. That used to be Rena's dad's. Technically, it was his brother's, who then sold it to his dad, and now it's sitting up here because it's the best place to store it indoors. Got my motorcycle up there, but it needs a little bit of love. If you see these yellow sheets of paper stuck in the key, those are my notes for everything that needs to happen. Like, I need to redo the entire front braking system on this and figure out the idle with this carb. She's not a very happy drive right now, but she's getting there. This one's actually Kelly's ATV. I need to get it up and running, but one of the things I noticed when I poured some fuel in the other day, I couldn't get it started. It started having leaks coming right out of the bottom of this. So I pull the fuel line off, drain it. I got to pull carburetor out of there. Just realizing how much work it's going to be. Pull the carb out, clean it, probably do all new gaskets in it. I had to get an air filter for it. What else was on? Oh yeah, I need to get a battery for this one. So the problems I got going on with the JCB right now are that the engine cover is spewing oil. It's pushing oil out the engine cover, and there's a what I originally thought was a hose that went from the valve cover to the crankcase. For some reason, I thought that that was a realistic thing, and I didn't know why that was, but it's JCB. I've never worked on them. I had no idea why that would be. Upon closer inspection, the tube that I thought was going into the crankcase is actually just a little 1-inch tube that points straight down, and that hose just goes down and connects into it. Effectively, if you've got any overpressure, it comes out the top and gets spewed onto the ground, not touching the engine. Great idea. Problem I have is that I'm pushing fluid out that at an alarming rate. At first, I thought that was blow by. Just the engine has been worn down. We're pushing air into the crankcase. We're pushing oil at the top. And I started thinking about it more, about what the actual problem could be. And it dawned on me that when I pull the dipstick out, it smells like diesel. And a lot of it, too. Which, when you think about the fact that this loader has been used primarily in the last 5 years and hasn't really gotten any maintenance, the homeowner used the fuel oil that they had down in the basement, which works as burning diesel oil, but it's not as clean as diesel. So what I'm thinking happened is the filters got gummed up, and then the injectors got gummed up. One of the injectors, or more than one injector, got filled or got stuck open and started just dumping oil or fuel into the cylinder. That caused it to leak around the piston rings, get into the crankcase, and fill up over time. Now we've hit to the point where there is so much fluid in the crankcase that it's building up over pressure. It's over pressurizing. So the top valve is doing exactly what it needs to do. It's letting off pressure, and it's just happening to taking a bunch of oil with it, well, oil mixed with heating oil fuel. Um, so I think the best course of action right now is to drain everything, pull injectors, clean the injectors, reinstall, put new oil in, and see what that does. That's at least the cheapest option. I'm going to go with the cheapest option because the thing that I could do next that I really don't want to do is more than likely it's a worn out engine. I've either got to replace the head gasket or rings on the piston. I might even have to bore the holes for the piston. I don't know. But once I get the injectors out, I'll do some compression testing, see if the cylinders are actually bad or if I can continue operating and it's just bad injectors. So I've got my camera set up finally. One in my back corner, one over here pointed directly at the engine. Hopefully we get some good shots and y'all can come along for the ride. All right, well, we're gonna try that camera angle up there. I've got a microphone on my eyes. I don't have to worry about being too close to the camera. Leave it up away and out of the way. Just record, which is certainly a good idea. All right, time to get you out of here, which you're not really attached to anything, are you? Nope. Got the sensor. Grab some tape and label that. Guarantee I will forget. Something I am terrible at, and I really do need to get better about, is putting tools away when I'm done with them. Yeah, there's a little bit of sense to, well, what if you're going to come across another one? You just need it out. Yeah, that is certainly a necessity. And if I knew what tools I was grabbing, I would do that. But I don't know what tools I need next. I'm literally figuring this stuff out as I go. I like engines. I like big toys. Being able to play with them is a lot of fun, honestly. I just need to be careful because since, anything engine related that you do wrong, you can blow an engine up. So, all right. So we've got my intakes here. This is fuel. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are arrows here telling me what direction things are flowing. And I've got my pump down here. This line's on the front of the pump, this line's on the back of the pump. So I'm assuming this means I've got fluid going through here into the pump. It sends fluid back this way. Comes into 4. Then wraps around. Why do I have something that wraps around the engine? What I'm seeing is I've got a fuel filter down there. One line in, one line out. One line obviously is going back to the tank. I can see that connection there. And that connection runs around to the back side here. Make life easier. But that line from the filter over there comes around into this. This line then goes up behind the turbo, and it's kind of challenging to see. See if I can get it on camera. You can kind of see that line floating in the middle there. That's the line that's coming off the other side of this. This is fuel pump, by my guess. The reason I'm guessing that is because it goes straight into the crankcase down there. And then that top there looks a lot like fuel pump. I wonder what that does. Maybe that's a fuel shutoff. Somebody's seeing this and they know what this is. Appreciate a comment about it because I don't know. My thought is that this is a fuel shutoff. Hold that, push down, it shuts the fuel off, shuts your engine down. But the way that I have been taught how to shut this engine down is you come over to the fuel pump here and you pull this brake cable that is supposed to be hooked up to the emergency shutoff. It's not. Pull that, pulls it back, and that shuts your engine down. That's the only way I know how to actually shut this engine off because it hasn't really been well taken care of. So that line coming off the pump over there is coming up into here. Or is it coming up into here? Got two lines. That's aggravating. So this is going to air intake. This is coming from the pump. Following the arrows, we go out here, down into our pump. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4 runs in a circle along the backside there. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that is set up so it fires 1, 3, 4, 2. If you think that this is going around in a circle, it's actually probably going around clockwise. If it's going around clockwise, it's going like that. It's going around counterclockwise, and it's going to hit cylinder 1, push fuel, and it's going to push fuel to cylinder 3, and cylinder 4, and cylinder 2. That's what all these are. These are my fuel sends. And I'm assuming these are pressure relief. They come back into the fuel filter. I got a line that comes up into the cab here. Start pulling these off. Crack these. Fuel draining out of them. Pop these off. Pull those out. Sound like a plan? Towel out here because I know I'm going to make a mess. Giggity. Love to have some inline wrenches to do this job, but all I've got is open wrenches to work with, so what I'm working with. Alright, color me impressed. Hardly any leaked out. That out of there. Don't got much room to go since those are all hard lines and kind of locked into place where they are. The reason I like using inline wrenches is anytime you're taking something off, you want to have full contact around the socket, otherwise you stand the chance of breaking that. I know I'm using something that's a little bit too big here for this job. I should be using the 3/8, but I don't have the right 3/8 tool at the moment. I need 11 mil down here, and I just don't have that. All right, 11 mil for that guy. Okay, there we go. Just had a little bit of dirt on it. You know what that probably goes to? That probably goes right to the top of the tank. If I were to hazard a guess. Tuck that in there. Spot for it. Woohoo! Alright, let's make sure I don't lose these. Alright, up next, these ones. 13 mil fit that the best, but I need a long socket to make that work. So considering that this one on the end here, number 4, the only one with fuel in the top of the injector, I'm thinking it's the only one that's not jammed open. I've got 3 injectors dumping their fuel straight down into the cylinder with no control. Half of that cylinder is not getting burned, and the rest of that's going into crank. I am really happy I took the bucket off of this thing though, because that would have been a pain to try and take off. Ugh. Oh, you're gonna be a stubborn bugger, aren't you? I'm gonna put these in a smaller container. Let's get all of these bolts off. Feels like I'm gonna need to do a little bit of persuasion to get these out. Feels kind of loose already. Yep, that is exactly how I was expecting that to go. That one's stuck in there too. I got one that came out easy. I got 2 more that are not planning on coming out easily. One thing I would like to not do is send extra dirt down into that cylinder. Although, it's not going to hurt it. It's just going to burn up and go out the tailpipe. But, oop, there we go. Had to free up a little bit. Yeah, that looks a little gunked up there. Nice. Oh, can't get this one out easily enough. Oop, I felt something move. Ooh, there we go. Gotta break that seal and they slide right out. That's the only one that actually had any kind of fuel in it. I did a thing. The thing that I did was I took all of these and I broke them down to their component pieces. You can see this piece slid off with this in it. It's actually shouldn't do that. There's enough carbon buildup on it that is actually preventing it from doing what it's supposed to do. Take apart another one here. You can see that piece is staying still as this piece comes off. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm really just figuring this out. A lot of this videoing is just documentary for me. That piece in the front there has a piston, very tight tolerances. You can feel it. You've got that small hole up there is the intake, and 2 side holes are the guide holes, and then you got your center piece right here. Those are the guide pins on the other side. What happens is pressure gets put into the little hole there, pushes this pin back, and that pin pushes down where it's at. That's what I think is happening, because I really don't know. On the back end here, got another cap. These threads thread out. Inside of this, there's a spring. Inside of all of that, another pin. You can see right down center, that's just the housing. That takes fluid, puts it down. This pin inside the middle of this spring pushing against it. These threads, I'm assuming because there's an Allen keyhole there, is how you would tune this. And spin that down. Put your other cap on here. And in order to move those threads on the inside, you can now crack this nut open, put an Allen key in there, tighten it down, crack that, turn that back down. Now you've set the pressure of that pin that's pushing down here. Right now I've got it in far enough that when I put this on, it's standing a little bit proud. That means when it gets compressed, it's compressing the spring in there. I can't do it by hand because that's a very heavy spring. And right now I don't want to compress everything. I want everything to be a little loose and in my bucket. On to the next project.